welcome to Lawyer of the Week. Lawyer of the Week is creating a global community of lawyers, solicitors, and their support to inform and to encourage each other. My name is Pamela Deneuve, and please join us for our interview this week. Hi, my name is Pamela Deneuve, and welcome to Lawyer of the Week. This week, I'd like to introduce you to Gene Quinn. Gene Quinn is a patent attorney and a leading commentator on patent law and innovation policy. Mr. Quinn is the founder and editor of IPWatchdog.com, which he started in 1999. IP Watchdog has been recognized multiple times by the American Bar Association as a top 100 legal blog, and also as in 2014, he was inducted into the ABA Blog Hall of Fame, and in 2017, he was also recognized as one of the world's leading IP strategists by IAM. He is regarded as an expert on software patentability and patent procedure. Mr. Quinn, or Gene, was admitted into the practice of law in New Hampshire and is a registered patent attorney licensed to practice before the United States Patent Office, and also admitted to practice before the United States Court of Appeals for Federal Circuit. Welcome, Gene.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So happy that you're our Lawyer of the Week, and I'd like to ask you our Lawyer of the Week questions.
Sure.
Okay, the first question is, when and what made you decide to become a lawyer?
Well, that's, an interesting question that goes all the way back to high school, believe it or not. And I always had interest in the law, and I also had interest in science, and I was very good in math. And when you're good in math and science, one of the things that they kind of encourage you to do is engineering. And I went to an all-boys prep school taught by Christian Brothers. And so we had, very good counseling. They took really good interest in us, and college was always where we were expected to go. It just was what we were expected to do. So they gave us these tests. Now today, everybody's taking tests to kind of figure out what you're good at. Back, when I was in high school, that was sort of, I think, revolutionary. And I took this test and I scored equally on engineering and law. And the guidance counselor looked at me and he says, if you go to college with an idea of going to law school, you'll never be an engineer. But if you go engineering, you could always go to law school. And that made a lot of sense to me. So I actually really went to college fully expecting that I was going to probably not cut it as an engineer, because so many people go and very first day you have the look to the left, look to the right speech. And I made it. I didn't do incredibly well, but I got through and I made it. And I realized that I really wanted to give law a try. And then I took to the law much better than I ever did to engineering. And then when you're in law school and you're an engineer, that's when you get into patent law. And it's been a strange path, but I love it.
That's wonderful. Now, you began writing a blog. Can you tell us how that all began?
Yeah, that's another interesting story that goes back a long, long way. I started in 1999, and this was me and a bunch of friends back during the .com era that we were going to all get rich. Do you remember that time when all you needed was a domain name and it had to end in .com, and you were going to become rich and famous, and money was being thrown around? Well, the thing that we knew was intellectual property. And so we decided that we were going to try and start a website, and we were all interested. We were kids, really, we were in our mid to late 20s, and we were going to start this website to give information on companies based on their intellectual property portfolios. Well, as so frequently happens in the intellectual property space, particularly the patent area, one person got a better offer that was paying a lot of money, and another person got an offer that was paying a lot of money. And soon pretty much it was just me, and I had already bought the domain name. So I just decided, I was writing a lot. I started teaching, and I just started putting stuff up on the web. And a couple years later, just randomly having put things up on the internet, one day was checking the statistics and realized that we were getting like 10 or 15,000 people a month reading just the things I was just randomly putting up about patent law. And I thought to myself at that moment back, and this is probably about 2001, maybe 2002, that this could be a business or a complement to a business.
Wow, that's great. So what are your biggest wins and challenges with your blog? And could you
Well,
tell them what it's called, first of all?
sure. It's ipwatchdog.com, and the IP stands for intellectual property. So we primarily write about patents and innovation policy. At least that's what I write about. We have others that also will write about copyrights and trademarks and trade secrets, and we dabble a little bit in internet stuff, like maybe net neutrality occasionally, and that sort of thing. But it's primarily a patent blog. And, one of the things that has been a challenge, I guess you asked about challenges and successes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the challenges has been we didn't start out as a blog, because back when we started, there were no blogs. We started as a website, and it was static HTML. And then blogs come along, and it was great simply because it made it easy to update your website and refresh it, and you could focus on content. It's a content management system.
Mm-hmm.
And but blogs started to get a really bad name, because what happened is anybody who had an internet access and a computer could put up a blog. So I've had to kind of try and develop this niche, really. Me, and there's not just me, but a lot of others. But in the legal space, there's not a whole lot of us who really do it and have been committed to it in the long haul. So it's been a challenge, because there's no playbook on how to actually do this. Like if you're going to open up a restaurant, you can go and get a business plan book, and you can read books about people who have succeeded in failure and why they failed. And the same for law firms and other stuff. This is kind of I'm a substantive expert, and I kind of walk that media journalist commentator line while still having clients, And so so that has been a challenge. I've navigated it, I think, pretty well. I have clients. I have clients want me to do work. I bring work in for the firm. But the work that I've done, as my reputation has increased, has become different. It's more of a consulting, because one of the things that lawyers make the mistake about when they're writing to try and get notoriety is they write like lawyers, which becomes a little boring. Mm. I actually take a position and a point of view, and sometimes that upsets people. So me as the front face, as an attorney representing you, depending upon what your position is, may not be in your best interest. Mm. So a lot of times what I find myself doing now is more consulting in the background. So in terms of successes, I will tell you, having done this, I've gone way further and farther and made more connections and more friends and more inroads into the industry much earlier in my career than I ever could have possibly imagined. I in some respects, you go to some of these attorney events, and when you're young, you sit at, if there's 99 tables, you're at table 99. And where you fit in is kind of, like what table are you at? And I have managed to navigate my way through, and I think I'm contributing to the industry in a positive way, and that has all been, I think, very rewarding, and to some extent very humbling, because I couldn't have imagined that I'd be doing this.
That's a great story. So you're kind of, is it right to, I know you don't want to use the word loosely, kind of like your blog is you're a celebrity in that niche.
I guess so. I mean, my wife says I'm a rock star, and and other people, sometimes I go to these events and they kind of treat me like that. Like it's funny. Sometimes people will come up to me and they want to take a picture with me. I actually had somebody for the first time ask me for my autograph, and I'm
really?
like, that was like, I almost didn't know what to sign. I think I signed it backwards. I think you're supposed to like say the message and then sign your autograph on the bottom of the message. I don't know what to do in some of these situations, so it's kind of a little bizarre. So, but in this little tiny pond, I guess, of patent law. And I think what it is it's just, what I try and do is I just try and keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
And what people say, and if this is what people really think of me,
Mm-hmm.
is that what they tell me is you write the things that everybody thinks and is afraid to say. And I suppose that's really what I'm trying to do. Now, a lot of lawyers can't do that. And the firm that I'm with is a smaller firm, and they give me the freedom to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been great.
That's really something. So with all this, what kind of legacy would you like to leave?
That's an interesting question because, I haven't really thought about it all that much. Although I have thought about it a little bit simply because I have a few friends who are librarians at law schools. And one of them a few years ago told me that at some point in time, I need to start to think about what I want to do with my papers. And I'm like, what do you mean papers? I'm a president of the United States. I mean, why would anybody really care about? But I guess I've written by now, I think I'm approaching 3,000 articles.
Oh my.
And some of them are not what I'm most proud of, but some of them I'm quite proud of. And so I have to stop and think about that. So I guess what my legacy I would like it to be, one is I wasn't afraid to say the things I really believe. And if along the way, I said things for those people who really didn't have a voice in the industry and got their point of view out with a bit of a megaphone so it could be considered, I think then my career will be a success. I mean, I'm doing pretty well. I could probably be making more money if I was practicing, not probably, I'd be making more money if I was practicing law, but this is really rewarding and I'm not hurting. So it's a good life.
Excellent. Excellent. So you said that you're really doing more consulting than practicing law right now. Is that correct?
I would say yes. And that's by conscious design. I do some, like if people want me to do things on the front end, primarily with inventors, if they want to know whether they've got something that's patentable, whether they should be moving forward with a patent, developing patent strategies and that sort of thing. I'll help with that sort of thing. But, sometimes I write things that might be upsetting to the patent office. Sometimes they like what I write. And I really don't want clients to get tainted by that. Some clients really like the fact that I do that. And, they seek me out for that kind of advice, but it's more behind the scenes kind of a thing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, our final lawyer of the week question, which I ask everyone, is name something that you do to manage your stress levels.
Well, two things come to mind. One is I work out. And when I don't work out, my whole body responds negatively, So over the last few years, I've really tried to consciously make time for myself. Working out. And then during the summer, I've also gotten into gardening as a hobby, and that kind of feeds into the whole trying to have a more healthy lifestyle. And because I struggle with my weight, I've done that my whole life. And, so I try and live a more healthy lifestyle if I can and stay as active as I can. And that kind of lets me clear my mind. Right. Then, there's some other things that I do too, but the other big thing that I have done that I think has helped a lot is I've tried to the greatest extent possible, and as a lawyer, this is never easy, is to not work weekends. Or when I work weekends, to try and keep it to an hour or two, maybe on Saturday and an hour or two on Sunday, and really minimize that, because I found I was just working 7 days a week, and it was like there's always work to be done, and you can always come up with stuff to do. And when you're doing that, it really, I found it was just stressing myself out because there's never any time to recharge. And it's never like you get to the bottom of the pile anyway. And what I found was when I started trying to take some of that time for myself to do, number one, what I said, you know, like work out and, you know, some hobbies like gardening, not getting to the bottom of the pile didn't affect the bottom line, and it didn't affect clients or my work responsibilities. What needed to get done still got done. And I don't know exactly how or why that occurred. Maybe I just became much more efficient. And I think that that's part of it. You know, when you're really looking at trying to say, hey, I want this time this weekend for myself and my family or whatever, then, you know, Friday afternoon gets a lot more efficient.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Well, I so appreciate you being our lawyer of the week. And it's really exciting. And I really look forward to learning more about your blog because you set the standard.
Well,
You
thank you,
set a
Pam.
standard.
I really appreciate being lawyer of the week, and it was great talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Lawyer of the Week. We hope to see you again next week.